can see how long it would take me to file that much off or grind it off. This is probably not OSHA approved, but it's fast. I'm gonna have to cut that with something else because this thing vibrates when you get it in a bind. That's got my rounded, the bottom part of it rounded pretty good. A little bit on this side is, need a little bit more on this side. My customer has decided he wants to keep the white line spacer. So that's my smallest diameter. I got to work myself down to that. Which means a little bit more is going to come off of this black plastic. Just a little bit. You got to tread lightly in places like this. This is like working through a minefield. You got to stay away from the white. Don't get down past the white, and stay away from the edge of that. Plus, watch this trigger guard sticking up here. This is you got to drive very slowly between these two white lines. From there to there, down to about that far, is the right shape. It's not smooth yet, but it's the right shape. I still have to take some of this black off because I'm not down to the white yet. Okay, my customer would like for this new stock to be a 1/2 inch longer than what it used to be. I've got this even up here on the front, and before this red pad was crushed, it was probably came out to about right there. So I need to go 1/2 inch past that and then deduct for this Pockmeyer pad to go back on there. So that's where it used to be. If I add a 1/2 to that, That puts me to right there. And then if I put this pad on and deduct an inch for that, that puts me to right there. Now that angle, if you want to compute it, so here's my length right here at this line. What I'm going to do is put a straight edge on this rib in the middle. That's a square down, 90 degrees down from center line. Make two little marks, and then take 3/16 to an eighth off of the toe. So that's about like that. Before I go any further, after all this is fit and trimmed a little bit and it's all solid, everything is, I feel good about it, then I got to check and make sure that these barrels are in line with this stock that I just put on there, or that the stock is in line with the barrels, because the barrels were here first. And what I do is just look down this middle rib and look down this center line, and I'm just going by eyeball. I guess there's some sort of a high-tech way to do this, but I don't know what it is. What I can do is put a straight edge in line. There's a center line on the butt of this thing, and I can just extend that line straight up, put it on that line and hold it, and then look from there down this center. And that is absolutely spot on. That is bang on. So now I can proceed. That is a well designed, well fitted receiver. I keep thinking that there's one that I worked on that's similar to this on the inside with these bars that come back that you have to slide it in from the front, and I can't place it. I just can't seem to figure out what gun it was that I worked on. But anyway, that is, I'm a happy camper with that. That's a well designed, nice little piece. I don't know what this thing costs. I've never heard of this brand before, but that thing is tight. I mean, it is rock solid. It has no wiggle. So now I can carry on. Now I've got to put this butt on and then work this down to the shape of the butt pad. I know I've gone over this before. I've actually done a separate video on how to put on a butt pad, but I never know who's watching today that wasn't watching 6 months ago or a year. So I just go through. On a new one, you need to locate the inside of these holes. They don't cut through here for you, so you just take a punch and find the middle of that, punch through it, and when you pull it back out, it makes a little bitty mark. Take a razor blade and make a vertical cut. Just a little vertical slit, because you're going to punch a screw through there, and that vertical slit has a way of disguising itself better than anything else. And you do not want that to get all ragged and all chewed up. I think my razor blade has lost its clean, sharp edge, but it's good enough for this for now. Now you're going to take a drop of oil, just 30 weight oil, and put on that area. You're going to get that oil on your screw threads so it'll lubricate that and not tear that out. Then you locate where this goes, how much you want this to overhang top and bottom. And on this one, I'm going to just split the difference. And that's overhanging about a heavy 16th. And I know it's close to an 8th. So I'm going to measure between the middle of that hole and the top of this, and that is 13/16. So I'm going to make my mark at 11/16, because I'm going to overhang about an 1/8 on the top. And I'm going to drill my first hole right there. That's 11/16 down and on center line, side to side. Pilot holes for Pockmeyer screws are always 1/8 of an inch. Now these screws on this pad from center to center are 3 3/32. I always cut my threads in. If I cut my threads in with a different screw before I try to use these screws, it keeps these a little less pressure. That oil I put on there keeps that head from chewing that rubber out. I don't usually use a drill or an impact to run those things in there, but I'm using a very light touch on that trigger right now. That thing is tight. That is really a nice tight fit. I didn't do a bit of sanding on the end of that thing. I just cut it off with a compound miter saw, and that thing is snug. When I get it a little closer worked down, I'll look at it a little closer, but I don't see any gaps underneath there at all. That took about 5 minutes, maybe. But taking all that off, the rasp, the grinder, and the file would have taken a lot longer.